Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Paul B. Taubman II from Digital Maestro, and right now we're going to be talking about website essentials for the music therapist. These are going to be some things that as you go along and you create your website, or if you're thinking about creating a website, and even if you have a website, these will be some of the things that you need to take into consideration in order to have your presence online be known and found by people looking for your services. So first off, just a little bit about me so you know who I am. I'm an international speaker and trainer. I work with website developers. We have a team here that works with websites and online strategy, which is basically anything that has to do with being found online. I'm a published author and primarily right now the founder of the website digitalmaestro.com. So the first question is, for those of you who don't have a website, just a couple points to let you know why you actually do need to have a website. The first one is visibility. These days, people, when they meet you and they find out about you, the first place they're going to look is on the web. So you need to be there. If somebody's looking for your services, they go into the search engines like Google, Bing, or Yahoo, and they're going to be looking for somebody with your services. So if they're going to find somebody, it may as well be you. Next is your website is actually, you can consider it as your internet real estate. More and more things are happening online. More and more people are accessing the web on their mobile device. So you want to be out there as well. There used to be a time when you didn't need a web presence. However, that is quickly slowing down. Advertising used to be in newspapers or flyers. And unfortunately, those are dying down. Yellow pages aren't as used as frequent as people just going and searching online. Okay. As I mentioned, people are checking you out. When they meet you, they want to find out more about you. They want to basically check your legitimacy by seeing what you have on your website. So if you don't have one, that's going to make them question things. Why aren't they online? How can I find out more? Many people prefer, rather than picking up the phone and calling, to simply just check things out online. Okay. You can also add a degree of professionalism. As the world becomes more digital, you've probably seen this in your own life, having that availability, having people able to find out more about you, your services, and your business and what you have to offer. It can no longer be a 9-to-5 job. While your services may be offered within certain hours, the ability for people to find out about them has certainly changed drastically over the years. So if you don't have a website, you're not seen as legitimate. You're not seen as being very professional. And there's obviously so many different reasons why you should have a website. Right? Depending on the nature of your website, the reasons why you want to have a website can also give way to having various functionalities. For example, you can have clients log into your website with a specific password and username that only they have access to. And you can share information back and forth with just that person. So we're not talking about just emailing things back and forth, but you can actually store things on your website. It can be more secure that way. It could be just informational. Your website could position you as the expert. It could position you as letting people know what events that you're having, what training sessions you might be offering, and so much more. So bottom line is, in today's society, you really do need to have a website. Now, in order to have a website, there's a few things I just want to talk about and let you know what you need. Okay, before you do anything, one of the things you need is known as a registrar. And a registrar is just the company that you can go to where you will register the domain name, which is just a fancy word for website, the website name that you want as your website. So for example, the people at Google went to a registrar and they registered the domain google.com. Okay, so the domain, again, is just the website name. So in order to have a website, you need to have a name. And you want to make sure that you're picking a name that nobody else has, because obviously there can only be one owner per name. Okay. Now, here's a pro tip for you when you're registering your name. what you want to do is you want to pick a good website name. And by good, it can mean different things to different people. So typically your website name is going to be part of your business. It could be your name. It really depends on what you want to brand yourself as. You know, if you don't have a website, one of the first things that you can always do is register your name. Right? This way you have it, nobody else has it. And you can just tell people, visit my website at johnsmith.com. Okay. Now, if your business, you actually have a business name, you may want to register that as a .com. Okay, so it all depends on what is more important for you. Are you branding yourself or are you branding your business? There's some other considerations about a website name, like, for example, just pick one more. When possible, always go with a .com. Now, there are many other what are known as extensions out there, and the extension is just the last part of the website name. So in the example before, johnsmith.com. You could also get .net or .org and so many more that are coming up these days. The original for commercial businesses was .com. So if it's possible, always get the website name with a .com. Okay, so great. So we'll go out, we'll register the name through a registrar. That's the first thing that you need. The next thing you need is actually going to be hosting. And a hosting account is simply where you can get computer space that you rent on a regular basis, on a monthly basis or a yearly basis. And that's going to be where all your files are stored. Okay? So you get your hosting account from a hosting company. And the files that you're going to store over there is going to be things like any images, any documents, any text that you want there, all your website pages. On your website hosting account, you'll also have the way that your website will be created. So there's many different platforms. For example, here I've listed WordPress. WordPress is one of the more popular way, or actually is the most popular way to have a website. 27% of the internet websites are actually created using software called WordPress. There's also others like HTML, there's Joomla and Drupal, ASP, there's .NET. So there's many different ways that you can create the website. And that platform or that method of delivering the website is really just a bunch of programs and files, and they also get hosted on your hosting account. Okay? Now, if you didn't have a hosting account, what you would have to do is simply create the website and keep it on your own computer, which really isn't a good idea. Think about this. If you were hosting your own website on your own computer, that would mean you'd have to do a couple things. Number one, you have to keep your computer on all the time. You have to make sure that you have an internet connection all the time. Plus, when somebody comes to your website, they would actually be connecting to your computer. So if you had things on your computer, I don't know, like bank account statements or personal letters or any personal information, it's possible that they can get access to those documents. So that's why hosting your own website is certainly not in your best interest to do it on your own computer. To get a hosting account, it usually will cost you around $10 a month. Okay? To get your domain name, to get your website name, that will cost you about $10 a year. And there's different plans, some are more and some are less, but typically when you're starting out, those are going to be the costs. Okay? So you need a name, which you get at your registrar, and you need a hosting account, which you get through a hosting company. Okay? So now, once you have those pieces in place, you have your domain name, you have a hosting account set up, and they're connected so that when somebody goes to your website, they know where to go. Okay? That's your framework that's in place. Then the last thing you need is the technical word called stuff, right? You need all that stuff that I mentioned before. So I mean things like images. If it's your business and you have a physical brick and mortar shop, you might want to have pictures of your location from the street, from the inside. Maybe you have studios, maybe you have different office space. It all depends on what you want to show them. If it is your sole business and you're the sole practitioner, you will probably want to have a picture of you. Okay? So various images are going to be on there. And then as I mentioned, you're going to have text or you're going to have words. And this is also known in the business as your copy. right? So you may have heard the term copywriter. So you want to have all that information that's also going to get stored on your website. Now you may have articles or documents, or you may have worksheets that you want to give away to people. You can store those on your website as well and make them available as a download, right? So you may have heard somebody tell you, oh, you can just go to my website and download these documents. You could do the same thing. In that case, your stuff would be those documents. Maybe they're checklists, maybe they're notes. Maybe it's as you're working with a client, you want to let them access those notes. Right? Those are all possibilities to do for your website. Okay. Now, let's talk about images for just a moment. A lot of times people say, I can't have a website because, you know, even though I'm great at what I do, I'm not very graphically inclined. That's why I went into music. Right? I'm not an artist. I can't draw. I can't design things. Well, the good news is that you can still have a beautiful looking website, even if you yourself can't do any design work. Okay? Many times, depending on the platform that you choose, there are what are known as themes or skins. And these are basic designs and not so basic designs that will allow you to go in and actually create your website for you. Okay, and it creates that design so it is very aesthetically pleasing and it looks great. Okay. So definitely do not let that thought stand in your way of having a website. Now, speaking of content, you may be thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to put? Right? This may be you pulling your hair out and go, oh my goodness, what do I put on my website? What's important? Well, each site is going to be different. Each business is going to be different. I mentioned before, what's the reason for having your website? Is it just to give out information to let people know where you're located? Right? It could be as simple as having a one-page website where all the information is just simply listed there. If your website is there to position you as the expert in your field, well, then you'll want something else. You want additional pages there to talk about you and your credentials and maybe what you've done. Maybe there'll be a page of samples of your work, or they could be audio files so people can listen to you, right? So that could be something else that you could put on your site, again, depending on the reason. Earlier, I mentioned that you can have a membership site, and a membership site is simply where all your clients will get their own individual login ID and password, and then they have access to information that's protected and nobody else can get to it. Now, it may be personal information for them, so it could be things that you're working on specifically with one client, or suppose you're running a class and you want to protect the documents that you're giving as handouts. People can log into the website and get access to those downloads. So if you want to give information to the public for free and not have them worry about logging in, you can do that. And you can also have it so that they can log in. Right? It all depends on the sophistication, what you need it to do, and what you want it to do. Right? So typically, content-wise, you also want to have a page where people can contact you. Right? Give them information. Maybe it's your mailing address. Maybe you're giving them information so that they can email you, right? Maybe it's directions. These are the type of things that go on a contact us page. So when you're going through and you're building your site or you're thinking about your site, think about what information you want to have to convey and to provide and let people know about you. List them out and then start to imagine what type of copy and images and text and all sorts of information that are going to go on those pages. By having that information, that's going to make the creation of your website a lot easier to go through. So think about it. Again, what's the purpose of the website? What is it that you want to do and what you want to accomplish? And once you have that in mind, then you can list out the various pages, organize the types of information and figure out, you know, what is a logical grouping for these things that you've listed out. Can they go on the same page, or does it have to be multiple pages? There may be designers, if you go and you have somebody build the site for you, that may say, we charge X dollars per page. So if that's a factor, you may want to consolidate and keep more things on one page. Or if it doesn't make sense to do that, then you may have to pay the additional fee. Depending on the platform and the way that the site is created, it really should not be an issue of how much people are charging per page. Okay? So if they start to tell you that they're charging per page, you may want to think about finding somebody else. Now, with your website being created, there's a whole bunch of other things that you're going to want to think about or consider. SEO, optimize, keywords, links, tags, and titles. Now, what these are used for, these are just, you may have heard terms like this or you may not have, but these are going to be words that people are using when they're talking about having your site found on the search engines. So when somebody goes to Google or Bing or Yahoo or a number of the search engines, they want to search for things, that's known, you want to make sure that your website is optimized for the search engines, and that's known as SEO, search engine optimization. And search engine optimization just means that your website is set up correctly so that the search engines can find you. So there's nothing worse than having a website, but if the search engines don't know about you, it's going to be very difficult for people to find your website. So in the movie Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner, he had the phrase told to him, if you build it, they will come. And sometimes people think that about their website. Oh, all I have to do is build my website and people are going to come to the website. I'm going to get a lot of traffic, as it's known. Well, that's not really true. If you build your website, you have to work to get people to your website. Okay, and one of the best ways you can do that is through the search engines. If the search engines know about you, when people go searching for it, for your services or what you have to offer, you want to be found in the search engines. And the way that you get found is by optimizing your keywords. And keywords are just the phrases that people will be entering into those search engines. Again, Google, Bing, Yahoo, AOL search, etc. And the words that you want them to find you for. So as you're coming up with all the content for your website, you might want to think about what words will people use to search for your website. So what words would people use to search for your website? Those are known as keywords. And you want to take variations of that and incorporate them onto all of your pages. So this way, when somebody searches for, let's say, musical therapist in Akron, Ohio, that could actually be a keyword phrase that you want to make sure that your website pages have. Right? And when you put those keywords there, that's known as optimizing the page. Right? So it's just a little bit of forethought of how people will find you, what you imagine they're going to be looking for when they go to the search engines. And another pro tip, I didn't create a slide for this, but what you want to do is think about what your audience, what your customers, what your clients will be searching for. You don't want to use a lot of technical jargon if you use it, right? Because the average person is not going to be using this technical language. They're going to be using everyday phrases, right? So that's why you want to think about it in terms of your audience, in terms of your clients, okay, or potential clients and customers. Other words on here. So links and titles. Well, let's stick with titles. Titles, you can put your keywords in your titles of the pages. So this way it will make it more strong of a suggestion to the search engines. And links are going to be links of other people to your website, as well as links that you have on your website to others. So you may have a page, let's say, called resources, where you have links to additional agencies or organizations or individuals that do similar type of work as you, or that, they supplement the type of work that you do. So anytime you have information on your website that people can click and it goes to another website, that's known as a link. Ideally, for really good SEO, again, search engine optimization, in order to let the website or the search engines know that you are a good, valuable source of information on your website, is if you can get other people to link to your website. Right? So if they have resource page, then they can list your website and what you do. That's known as a backlink. And the more links that you can get to your website, the better it will be within the search engines. And tags are just simply indications of what kind of information is on that page or what kind of information is in that article. And this way, when people are searching for it, again, it makes it stand out a little bit more. So the bottom line here with all these information, SEO, optimized keywords, links, titles, and tags, is that it sounds like it can be confusing. However, with a little forethought and understanding of what each of these is and what it does, it will help you design your website so that you can be found within the search engines. And when people find you, they will come to your website. When they come to your website, they will learn more about you. When they learn more about you, they're more likely to engage with your services. Okay? So it's really all about getting people to your website so that they can know, like, and trust you. Because people will buy or engage in services with people that they know, like, and trust. Now, as I've been saying this, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, there's so much to do. Well, it's really not, it's not that bad. The key to all of this, as it says on the slide here, is organization. Right? The best way to get started is to just come up with a system to keep you organized. So this may be, if you like paper and pencil, write down on a sheet of paper the page name that you want and what information you want on it. Maybe it's going to be in a Word document, a word processing document. You could do the same thing. Maybe you want to keep track of things in folders on your computer. Whatever you do, just keep track of it and work with what works for you. Okay, there's several different ways that this can happen. So it's very individualized and very personal. Whatever you find best as far as tracking information and keeping notes and files of images that you want to use, along with the copy or the text that goes on the page and the various pages. You can certainly create folders to do that. Okay? And when you start off with an organized system, it just makes updating things that much easier. Okay? Now, if you'd like more information about how you can create your own website for you as a musical therapist, the best thing you can do is register for the course, Website Essentials for the Music Therapist. Right? In that course, we're going to actually cover a lot more things in a lot more detail. And at the end of the course, you will actually know the types of information that go on your website, and it will be organized so that you can either start to build your website right away or simply give all that information, all that content that you've created and organized to a website developer so that they can easily and quickly create the website for you. Thank you very much, and we look forward to working with you in the Website Essentials for the Music Therapist course.